Hello, I'm Pat Lawson Muse. Grief isn't only reserved for those who've experienced the loss of a loved one. We can also grieve while caring for someone who's still with us. Psychologist Dr. Tanya Phillips explains why it's so important not to try to pour from an empty cup, and how the caregiver can get care while giving it. She explored the realities of caregiving at the Arc of Safety's recent seminar on grief and loss.
Good morning again. Thank you all to everyone that in their respective places that was responsible for putting this together. I believe it's an amazing day, and it's an amazing experience. And as just stated, this time and this season of the body of Christ integrating holistic wellness, it is a phenomenal thing. So hats off to all of those that are responsible for this. As stated, I am Tanya. I feel like I'm at home. So I'm grateful. I'm a little church girl. So I'm excited to be home in the house. So today I've been asked to speak about caregivers, speak to caregiving, and its impact to grief. Has anyone here ever been a caregiver in a caregiving capacity? Now, I'm a talker and a walker, and I'm going to do my best to talk and walk and remember my content as well. What does it feel like when you are in a caretaking capacity? Honest. Can everybody be honest in this space? Are we being recorded? Okay. What does it feel like as a caretaker? And then I'm going to share mine. I'll tell you all, when China called me asking, could I do this? She's making me all in my business. Right? But what does it feel like for you as a caretaker? Stressful? Anything else? Responsible? Emotional? Fear? All right. What type of emotions elicit with a caretaking responsibility? Fear? Anything else? I haven't heard the big ones yet. Huh? Comfort. Okay. Anything else? Anger, anxiety, exhaustion, right? Almost anybody here can, I don't know, and I want to share why this was hard and easy for me to do at the same time. Has anyone ever felt angry, resentful, confused, guilty, right? A level of burden of responsibility, but then feeling shame that you feel this? If that is your truth, there's no judgment, because a piece of your life as you know it has kind of been snatched. So when we talk about grief, as everyone has stated before me, grief is not just the loss of a person or a thing. It can be loss of quality of life as I knew it. So before I start my little presentation I put together, and I'm going to do my best to stay in my time frame, talk a little bit about my sudden caretaking responsibilities that just blew me away. I turned 50. We were having a grand time. It was a pretty in pink party. Pink is my favorite color. We had about 53 people on the beach in the Dominican Republic, and it was just a wonderful time. And my boyfriend / husband of 30 years, we were all in love and running up the beach and having a good time. And we get home from that grand vacation, and he has a temperature, like a week when we're back from the Dominican Republic. So I'm thinking he got COVID or he something. Let's just go to urgent care. And here we are off to urgent care, and I'm texting the kids, being honest, right? Here he go again, y'all. He's sick with something, but because if he get a cold, it's surgery, So I'm like making jokes about, what this is going to take for me. So we get to the urgent care, and they say they got to call the ambulance because he has an abscess on his toe that has become infected, and now he's septic. What you mean? So not only is he septic, but this sepsis is now to his kidneys and his lungs and his liver, and is moving pretty quick. And this thing is so infected, we have to amputate. So the text messages are changing to the kids. Everybody need to get here. I don't know what's going on. So the amputate of the toe became the amputate of the other toe, and the amputate of the other toe became. So in a matter of 3 hours, my husband had undergone 4 surgeries that resulted in a below knee amputation. And just a week ago, I was on the beach running, turning 50, empty nesting, preparing for life with my 30-year-old boyfriend, that we now no longer have kids in the house. And now we got to get a wheelchair, and we got to get a lift, and like, ooh, who going to drive me around? I'm being honest, if I can be honest here. All right. So I got all of these big, big emotions that I had no idea what to do with. So when I was asked to talk about grief for the caretaker, professionally, I can speak about it. That's kind of what I do. Personally, I'm still trying to catch my breath, right? Trying to catch my breath. So I stand here in the person of a professional, in the person of a wife, in a person of a caretaker, in a person whose life has been completely, ultimately changed for the plans, again, and I'm going to be honest. Jeremiah 29:11 says, I know the plans I have for you. God, we can talk about this. I'm a consultant, Jesus. You didn't call me and tell me you were going to do this, right? So when we talk about some of the anger and some of the emotions, I just wanted to put that out there to let you all know, if that's you today sitting with that, this girl don't judge, because I know what it means. So for the short time that I had with you today, I threw together some objectives, because y'all, I'm sorry, I'm an educator. So I got to have an objective. Understand the importance of addressing grief in caregiving. Really important that we understand that and we address that. Identify signs and symptoms of grief in caregiving, because sometimes we can't say what we're feeling, right? When I start telling people that I was mad as you know what, I had people saying to me, are you crazy? That man has been so good to you. How dare you? He needs you now. You're such a spoiled brat. He has been so, recognize compassion, fatigue, and burnout, right? I'll talk about that in the caregiving process. Identify 3 to 5 healthy coping strategies. I don't want you all to just leave here understanding that as a caregiver, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, I'm frustrated. I want you to know what to do when those frustrations come. So I'm a real practical girl to give a few practical tips. And then identify ways that we seek healthy support networks. I mean, real ones, right? Real ones. I need that real friend that I can call. China, I'm ready to have his leg because I'm tired of this. I'm real, right? I'm real. That sounds really mean and drastic, but y'all, I be there some days. I be there some days. And establish good supports. All right. I want you to pause and reflect. We're going to do it quickly, but seriously. When was the last time you did something just for yourself as a caretaker? When was the last time that you did something without feeling guilty or pressed for time? Or I probably shouldn't be doing this. I need to get back home. What did that experience reveal about you, how you prioritize your own well-being? Were you out and rushing to get back? Were you out and checking the cameras and the phone and telling other people what to do? Did you refuse to go because there would have been no one to take care of your person the way that you do? And then the second question I want for your reflection piece, in what ways has caregiving changed how you see yourself? And how do you ensure that your identity and personal needs are not lost in the process? Those 2 framed reflection questions are intentional for you to begin to ask yourself the very hard questions. Because caretaking is a job, and folks tend to forget about you. You know, they'll ask you, how's mom doing now? I noticed that, like, I didn't eat today, but she did. You know, people tend to forget about you. So in the reflection pieces, I want you all to think about, where am I and how well am I taking care of me in this process? So addressing grief in caregiving. Did I skip something? It should be some stuff there. Who is it? Okay, I don't know. We'll talk about the many faces of of grief in caregiving. And these are the different types of grief. I threw several on here, but the big one that I want to pull out is the disenfranchised grief. Has anyone ever heard of that? Disenfranchised grief is grief that society say you shouldn't be experiencing. No one recognizes it. It's you're really gaslit for feeling something. With this and this, all of these go with caregiving, but disenfranchise happens when caregiving grief is not recognized or validated by society. It's grieving. Example of that is grieving the loss of a relationship with a loved one who is still alive. Often happens when folks have Alzheimer's or dementia, right? My dad, my aunt, my whomever person I'm caring for, they're still here, but this is not the person I remember. It's painful to walk in that room and they're accusing me of stealing their things, or they're cursing at me and they have never been a cursor. What is this? What is this? So, well, again, society would say something like, you should be grateful they're still alive. I can't believe you complaining because they're like that. Gosh, where's your humanity? Right? So it's almost like you're shamed for having these normal reactions of trying to accept a loss. And then caregivers may feel guilty for grieving when the person they care about is still present. Right? That's the big one. That's disenfranchised because there's nowhere to go or nowhere to talk about what this feels like. The other one is the anticipatory grief. I don't know what's about to happen. This person is not gone. They're still here, but any day now they could die. Right? We see that with a lot of people taking care of cancer, people that are living with cancers, or people that are living with terminal illnesses. I don't know what time I'm going to go in that room and they're gone. I don't know when the day is, but I'm waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm just waiting for it to happen. It's common when caring for people, again, with progressive illnesses or terminal illnesses. Cumulative grief we heard about, I think. That's a buildup of loss over time. Secondary loss grief, grieving the losses that come with caregiving. That's the one I talked about when I first started, right? That how, my husband drove me everywhere. I owned a car, but all I knew how to do was hit the start button. He drove everywhere. So to have to wait for his car to be changed and switched and all of the things that came with the living with the amputation, it was very secondary lossy for me. All right. It was much of a loss. Personal freedom had changed for me in that place. And again, this type of grief is often overlooked because, again, Tanya has a driver's license. What do you mean you got to wait for him to drive you? But for 30 years, this was my driver. This is what we did. Right? So the many faces of grief in caregiving, I threw them all on there, but no one really recognizes grief in caregiving. Right? So signs that you're grieving. I pulled out all 4 dimensions: emotional, physical, spiritual, and then behavioral. What are the signs? From emotional, we think of sadness and hopelessness. Yes, that is a part. But guilt, we talked about that. Anxiety and fear, irritability or emotional numbness. What is happening? Right? Emotionally, I cannot attach myself to allow every system in my body to adapt to the changes that are happening. Physically, what we see is fatigue and exhaustion, sleep disturbances, how I sleep changes. Am I sleeping too much? Am I sleeping too little? Appetite changes, and then because of the appetite changes, we experience weight up and down. Body aches, numbness, immune. I hear people all the time talk about, oh, my author is acting up. Some of that is emotional trauma stuck in your bodies, right? Stuck in our bodies. Spiritual, serious questioning of faith. If there is a God, how in the world would he allow this to happen? Serious, again, I want to normalize these experiences because I think when we are really, really, really grounded in faith, we tend to shame ourselves for our humanity, right? Your experiences of this emotional escalade is only the evidence that I love and I loved. If you are not having a teardrop or an emotion related to something changing that you love, then we got to have a different conversation. right? So doubting or resentful of role as caregiver. I heard this talk about if I had done this right, if I had done that differently, would they still be alive? If I had given the med earlier, or if I had put them in a different hospital, or if I had, if the answer that I give folks when they are struggling with these what ifs, that's too high for you to carry. That's too high for you to carry. Our Bible tells us no man knows the day or the hour of his return, right? We do not know the day of the hour of our own demise, let alone the people we love. So if I begin to hold responsibility for how my husband lost his leg, and I went through that, how in the world did I not know as his wife that he had a blister on his toe? What kind of wife am I? I'm sitting with this man every day. I'm running up and down the beach with him, and he had a blister on his toe? Gosh, how didn't I know that? I remember my therapist saying to me, because you're not a podiatrist, you're not a toe searcher, right? What you mean? How would you know? But I was up in my head with the guilt and the shame and the embarrassment. Like, oh my God, my husband's a diabetic and I should have been checking his feet. And my therapist said, no, you shouldn't know, right? He has neuropathy. He didn't know that blister was under there. Right. So I had to have some explanation and some help helping me understand, because these signs, all four of them was spiraling me from a behavioral place, neglecting self-care. Right. And it may not be as deep as I'm not brushing my teeth, but it could be as deep as I no longer walk. I no longer exercise. I no longer select healthy, balanced meals. I no longer care about how I look. I don't put makeup on anymore. I don't comb my hair. Neglecting self-care, increased dependence on substances. That's big. And I know we're in the body here, but I can hear y'all yelling, Jesus drank wine. Told y'all I've been in church all my life. I know. However, when we are hurting, we forget that Jesus was blessing the people and then moving on. We kind of just get stuck on the couch with wine and wine and wine and sleep aids, right? And things, these maladaptive things, alcohol, medications, things that just tend to numb us out. And then difficulty concentrating and making decisions in the fog, right? In the fog. So if you're seeing these signs in caregiving, please acknowledge it. You know that I'm going through. I remember taking my husband to an appointment and I'm telling the doctor, and he didn't do this, and he didn't sleep last night, and he didn't do, and the doctor, we have the same doctor, and she's an internist, and she's typing, and she's like, I want you to go to the pharmacy. I said, oh, you put him something else in? Thanks for that, because I'm noticing that he's not. She's like, no, I put something in for you. Crazy, right? She's like, I put something in for you. She's like, how are you sleeping? It's like, I didn't pay you. He paid his copay, not me. Right. But I was good and crazy in all of this, because I was serious about having his needs met. So I was sure, again, I was overcompensating because I had a level of guilt that I didn't do something right. So I'm not going to let the ball drop on me again. He going to have everything he needs. Well, I'm a social worker, y'all. He had everything. They couldn't believe he had a wheelchair before he even came home. But compassion fatigue and burnout, very serious phenomenon. Anybody ever heard of it? What is compassion fatigue? Compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue is something that we talk about in caregiving or professional roles, as somebody that take care of people. I love what I do, but something about the compassion in what I do is diminishing. Right? If I think about my compassion, I'm just such a bubbly person. I love people. I'll help anyone. My compassion scale is at a 10 because I'm just helpful. But some kind of way is declining down to a 4. And some days it's a 3. Some days it's a 2. And not because I'm not a good person or I no longer care about people, but I'm tired. And there's so much happening and I can't catch my breath. There's so much going on and I no longer feel the joy of this anymore. It's almost like if I had to think about, I bit off more than I can chew. I no longer feel satisfied in this role. Absolutely. Okay, coming. Okay.
You're saying I'm doing everything because social workers, right? He gonna have everything. He got everything all the way. He's got everything, but I don't necessarily got everything.
Yeah, no.
Are you still going to work and driving, doing all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Compassion fatigue. This is a good example. Helping professionals have it in common. Everybody has this, though. This is why I asked you this question. So as you're driving to work, you ever forget how you got there?
What do you mean forget?
You ever pass an exit and be like, wait a minute, where am I going? Or you get in the parking lot and you don't even remember the drive? So that's why I asked that, because that's when I know that I'm experiencing it.
I'm glad you bring that up. I got 13 tickets. You know those little $40 cameras? Just going to work. Got 13 of them in the 2 months after his amputation. 13 $40 tickets on the same strip. Because I'm just going to work. I don't even know what the speed limit is. I don't even know. And I told my mama when the tickets started coming, I said, if the police come get me, I'll probably fall out and throw myself on an EP. So it was a lot. So compassion fatigue and burnout is just that. Burnout, on the other hand, is just, again, I'm exhausted. I do this work, but I'm exhausted. I am pulling these out in this presentation intentionally as normalizing. I want to normalize these, and I want you all to, if you're experiencing this, own it, because we need tag teams. We need, and my daughters, all three of my children, they were kind of like, Mom, we'll step in for Dad. We'll step in. And I'm like, no, y'all can't take care of him like I can. No, because he's not going to let y'all do it. I was the expert of him. And nobody put me there. I just kind of appointed myself in that role. So we have to develop some healthy coping strategies. The biggest one is to recognize these symptoms, and the earlier we recognize them, the more proactive we can be with doing what we need to do to take care of ourselves. Caregivers must prioritize their own well-being and being able to support each other effectively. Exercise, do mindful and deep breathing, as China introduced when we first got here. Avoid those unhealthy coping tactics. Shopping, like I had an Amazon package like 5 times a day because I was just ordering everything for him, me, the grandkids, the dog. My dog got 6 different necklaces in a kind of Rocky had 6 different necklaces. She was blinging. But avoid all of that because it was escapisms, right? It's escapisms. Journaling, please start writing out your emotions in a healthy way. If you're afraid that someone will read your journal, find a nice, safe place to burn it, right? Fire is healing. So when we start watching things burn, please don't go out here and set no fires and say that the doctor said I can set fires. No, but fires are healing. Seek professional support when needed. I cannot stress that enough. I am a therapist, an educator, a trainer, a business owner with a therapist. Because without that safe place, even the people that I trusted, I was worried that they were tired of hearing me. I was worried that I was being a burden to them. I was worried. So please use your benefits. Use your health insurance. Use it because this is all just too much. It's just all too much. Your networks, as I talked about, no caregiver should be alone. Use your networks. Make sure that there's somebody in your life that knows how to take care of that person the same way that you did. Right? Make sure that that person is best as they can. The greatest advice my therapist gave me about my husband, she's like, he can get a prosthetic and he can still do some stuff. Or he can get in that wheelchair, he can still do some stuff. Really? Yeah. So releasing him to a greater level of independence. And when I had the conversation with him, surprise, he told me I was getting on his nerves. Right? So again, faith-based communities can offer spiritual support and comfort. And then again, seeking that professional support is a strength. It says, I recognize that I'm benching too heavy. And anybody that work out, we need a spotter. Right? Our psychological supports are spotters. They're the people that hold us up when the weight is too heavy. I threw some local resources on here. Right here in the Hyattsville area, there are several. I was really impressed when I started doing this research, how many grief supports that exist out here just for caregivers. There are several. I got them on this, but City of Hyattsville offer a 90-minute support group free, FREE. Restored Behavioral Health Services, which is a mental health based provider out here. They have a Wednesday night support group from 7 to 8 just for caretakers. The NAMI in Prince George's County has an awesome support service system. And then PG County has a family caregiving program. So these resources are all online. Pull them and use them because we need those safe places where we can just talk about what we're feeling. And this is, China did it already. It's a mindful moment for breathing. No, you're fine, China. And the final thoughts here is that I want you all to walk away with, as everyone has stated, grief is a natural part of caregiving, but you're not alone and you don't have to go at it alone. Prioritize your self-care. Remember, you cannot pour from anything that's empty. And after reflecting on your self-care, I want you to think about one intentional thing that you plan to do for yourself this week that prioritizes your well-being. And that's it. Well,
Well, I know we definitely have some questions, so please feel free to ask some questions. But I did want, if you can just maybe take a couple of moments, maybe even elaborate and touch a little bit more on, I think about, when we talk about the process and grieving, just even the idea of grieving the loss of a person that's living. And speaking specifically more to individuals who are struggling with cognitive disorders, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, and just the grieving process, not only for the caregiver specifically, because that's what we're focusing on, but even maybe for that person who themselves has some awareness and knowledge that they are losing themselves, the memory of themselves. But as a caregiver, maybe you can touch on strategies that they can help themselves in ways in which, and even how that looks for them.
Mm-hmm. I think, the hardest hurdle to climb over is one that we haven't developed a strategy of how to climb, right? I can have a big mountain, but if I haven't developed a strategy of how I'm climbing or an awareness of even if I want to climb this mountain. So I think the first thing that we have to do when we look at loss, grief and loss, is to intellectually examine what's happening here. Right? What's happening here? And when we think about cognitive declines, whether it's dementia or Alzheimer's, what does this person still have that I absolutely adore? Right? My great grandma, I was her caretaker. She was a 90-year-old runner. And when I say a runner, she ran away a lot, and the whole community knew how to catch her. The thing that she still had was her hands. Right? And when I say hands, y'all probably think I'm thinking like she could bake, she could cook. No, she could lay hands and slap you. And we knew. So again, making it, I have to create new memories, because I think where we get lost in our rituals and our traditions. And when I talk about there's a gain there and there's also a loss there, right? Especially in African American communities, the bedrock of our survival are our storytelling narratives, are our memories of how our rituals and how we do things. So we create new rituals. My grandma may not remember too much about what we did 10 years ago, but today we have coffee every day and she has ice cream for breakfast. And while it may not be wholesome, she wants ice cream for breakfast. We have an ice cream for breakfast. So I'm creating new rituals so that tomorrow she says, "Where's my ice cream?" And she knows that if I don't have her ice cream, I know that I'm going to catch her hands. So I better have her ice cream. But she is now in this place. So when I think our cognitive selves have to look at life as a developmental cycle, that everything is changing developmentally, right? There was a baby and then there was a senior citizen. And there's a lot of stuff in between. There's a question.
I just want to ask, my mother, before she passed, she had dementia, and she had 7 kids. She couldn't remember any of us. So we all had got together one year for Thanksgiving because along with the dementia, she had lung cancer, and we know it was just a matter of time. So when we all got together, my older sister kept fussing with her because my mother kept repeating stuff, and then she would say, "Oh, I kept Peaches." My nickname is Peaches. She said, I kept Tay-Tay, which was my son. She said, "I kept him for Peaches one time." And so my sister said, "No, you didn't." So she's arguing with her. And so I finally told my sister, I said, "Look," and I don't know if it's right or wrong, you can tell me, but I finally told my sister, first of all, you arguing with her. In her mind, she kept him.
Absolutely.
So let her keep him.
Absolutely.
Don't argue with her, because what's happening now, you getting all frustrated and upset and arguing with her. And she don't even know it because so I told, "Yes, Mama, you kept Tay." And let it go at that. So was that wrong?
Absolutely not. We roll with what they remember. And we encourage them. You did an amazing job with them. You did it with my grandma. That's how I treated her. And the family be looking at me like, "What are you talking about?" I'm speaking her language. I'm speaking her language. And again, if I'm thinking about I want to honor the time, if I knew right now that this is the last time that I'm going to see my sister China, do you really think I'm going to be arguing with her? We are having conversation. We are laughing. We are loving. So that you did absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just wanted to share. I was a caregiver for my daughter before she passed. She was my only child. And I had the support of my sister, Camille Kellogg. And I never knew before she passed that I was grieving. I didn't realize that. And I realize it now after you're saying that. But I didn't know I was grieving at the time. And when I was taking care of her, as her disease took over, she could no longer walk. So she was bedridden. And then it eventually took the use of her legs and arms and her vocal cords. So she couldn't talk anymore. And I did not realize at that time that sometimes I got upset because I wanted her to talk. When I talked to her, I wanted her to talk. And she couldn't do it. And I think she was trying to tell me, I can't. You could tell me what you want, but I can't respond to you. So I think based on what you said, now I realize I was grieving. And I did not know that.
Absolutely.
I thought you only grieve at a loss of something, not necessarily someone living and grieving at that time. And then the sleep thing, I was not sleeping because I was always trying to listen out for her. She was in the next room, and I didn't want to fall asleep and not hear her if she needed me. And when I talked to my primary care doctor about this, she wanted to give me a sleeping aid, but I refused it. I said no, because I won't be able to hear my daughter if she needs me. You know, so a lot of these things that you all have talked about, the kind of grief, there's an everlasting grief. You know, I lost my daughter 10 days before Christmas in 2023. And I realized at that point with my grandchildren and my great-grandson that we were just mumbling through life. We weren't, I don't know the word
Living.
to you.
Living.
Yeah. We weren't.
You all were in survival mode.
Always. You know, and every time I felt happy about something, then I felt guilt. And my support system, I don't care what time I called my sister. She might take a minute to answer the phone, but she was always there for me.
Yeah.
Always, every single moment. I would share with her everything that was going on, including the times my daughter kept falling before she became disabled completely, and I ended up getting a nurse and a health aide to help me because I wasn't doing anything for myself. I wasn't sleeping. I was barely eating. And I got mad about the situation. And I just wanted to share that it's hard. It's really hard. And right now, it is extremely hard because she would have had a birthday on the 23rd of March. So I went through it again. And I keep going over and over. And the closer it gets to Christmas, I know that I'm going to go through it again. But I just wanted to share that because I kept having those bursts that Rev was talking about. And I had to get up a couple of times and just leave out the room because I was having those bursts. And I just wanted to share that with you all, just in case you're feeling the same way. And I know it's not going to go away because she was my only child. And I try to make up for that with my grandchildren and my great-grandson. But I know that I'm just putting myself through more grief and more changes. But I'm trying to get through it. So I'd ask that you all pray for me. Continue to pray for me. Alicia Johnson, that's my name. Please pray for me. Keep me lifted in your prayers because it's a struggle for me every day. Every day. No matter what happens, and I get to laughing. My sister is so silly. And so when we get on the phone, she accuses me of being that way. She's my happy mode.
I love it.
And so I just want you all to pray for her too.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much.
First of all, I'd like to thank all the stories that I'm hearing today. I came here today to get prepared. My mother's in close to 90. My father's close to 90. 2 different households. There are 5 boys. Out of the 5, 3 are able to do some of the things that you are talking about. But I guess it's time to have those kind of conversations now to get prepared. My wife already told me she's going to put me on medication. She has a close relationship with my mother. But I know it's going to be hard. I don't know where to start. And I want to get prepared for this particular situation. Conversations with my other 2 brothers, so we'd be on the same platform as far as how she should be taken care of. And I know that you can do better than I can and all that to get that out the way and get to the solution of how to better take care of our aging parents.
Thank you for sharing. I think, when we're honest, I don't believe, spiritually, we know that death is a part of life, but I don't believe that our hearts are ever ready to just rejoice in the Lord immediately when we know that the way that I am familiar with seeing and experiencing this person is forever changing. And it really takes a level of honest, authentic exchange about the psychological warfare that's associated with saying goodbye. Even though, again, we know to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. We know that. But as I share with you all, when different things happen that just are shocks to our central nervous system, everything we know goes out the window. Everything. So if you're in a caregiving capacity or you're supporting someone in a caregiving capacity, be kind, be patient, be intentional. Right? It's important for me to remember that I still matter and that my husband has to learn his own self-care strategies and his own coping. Well, he is amazing. He in fact, he probably in these streets now. I don't know where he at. He's amazing, right? He has his prosthetic. He got his car altered to meet the needs that he wanted in, and upgraded some stuff and did some stuff. And now the kids calling, "Daddy not home." I have no idea where he is. But as life-changing as it has been, there's a silver cloud of adaptability and acceptance. And we're finally at the place where we accept that this is our life. This is our life, but it requires some intentional self-love, some self-awareness. And on the rough days, it requires an authentic, ugly release of wherever I am. And I just hope and pray that the people I release it to can find grace and mercy and not judge me too harshly.
Thank you once again. And I do believe, I'm assuming we have no more questions. As Tanya was talking, another word just kind of popped up in my head, and that happens a lot. It's not, forgiveness. And as I'm listening, not only to the presentation, but as I'm listening to those individuals that are either currently in a caregiving role or have served in some caregiving role, I want to remind you the importance of forgiveness, self-forgiveness. Forgive yourself for anything that you felt that you should have done, didn't do, for the way you felt, the way you feel currently. Forgiveness. I mentioned earlier grace and compassion. So grace, compassion, and forgiveness. Okay? All right, so take a deep breath. Hold. All right, thank you. All right, it looks like we're about ready for lunch. I'm going to toss this back to Ms. Joyce and let her direct us on how she wants to go. And as a reminder, we do have tables set up in the back. If you're one of those type of persons that need a table to kind of spread your stuff out, or if you even want to take a couple of minutes, and again, we do have a presenter that's going to be speaking during this lunch break, that's going to bring a lot of vital and important information, and I'll present his bio before he gets up here and speaks. But again, self-care. So even if, because I know I'm going to do it for myself, it's going to go outside. Even though the outside doesn't love me anymore, apparently, because I'm allergic to everything outside, but I will suffer because I know that's where my healing, that connection, connecting with earth, connecting with outside, feeling the sun on my face. So if you got to go sit outside for a couple of minutes, got the sun hit your face, walk around the building once or twice and come back in, please feel free to do so. Do what you need to do for yourself, okay? I'm going to pass this over to Joyce.